Hello, my name is Dr. Jonathan Flowers, and I'm here to talk to you about what comic studies can learn from Mono no Aware. For Motoori Norinaga, the purpose of literature was the relation of an experience as it was experienced by the author. Insofar as tales, or monogatari in the Japanese context, captured an experience and then related it through aesthetics, Norinaga saw in literature the means to cultivate into individuals a sensitivity to the variety of cultural and social situations such that a more humane society could emerge. This sensitivity, dubbed Mono no Aware, or the moving power of things, was key to Norinaga's hermeneutic project of using literature to cultivate individuals sensitive to the aware of a plurality of situations such that they could act more humanely. On this basis, comic art should function no different. To this end, this talk will situate Mono no Aware as a mode of understanding how comics do what they do with the unique medium that is comics, and seek to introduce Mono no Aware as an alternative way of understanding the moving power of comics. To begin, we need to engage with what comics are. In the images presented from his text, Understanding Comics, Scott McCloud presents comics as juxtaposed pictorial and other images in deliberate sequence. This definition is a definition that covers most cases of what comics are. While it is not the purpose of this presentation to critique McCloud's definition, it does provide a branching off for an approach to comics through Norinaga. While McCloud and others are concerned with what is a comic or how we might define comics, Norinaga would be concerned with what comics do. So even if we accept Cloud's definition of comics as juxtaposed pictorial and other images in deliberate sequence, Norinaga would argue that this definition is incomplete if it does not attend to what those juxtaposed images make present and how those juxtaposed images make what they make present apparent to readers. To clarify, for Norinaga, the purpose of monogatari or tales was the relation and cultivation of mono no aware, or a sensitivity to things. Works might be deemed better or worse in the degree that they enabled this cultivation and made present the felt experience of the subject matter of the given work. Still further, the composition of poetry had a clarifying effect on the human heart. By organizing our turbulent emotions into a form that could be understood by all who stood before it, the composition of works of art allowed for the healthy release of pent-up emotions that emerged through our ongoing interactions with the world. In so doing, the composition of works that fully articulated aware allowed for intersubjective communication between individuals. If a work could clearly express the aware of an experience through its organization, individuals who consumed that work could learn how to feel within the experiences depicted. Thus, to return to McCloud's definition, for Norinaga, comics as juxtaposed pictorial and other images in deliberate sequence make present the aware of an experience in a way that is specific to the organization of the medium. Briefly, through the combination of text, which patterns an author's voice such that it may be extended across cultures and eras, and images which capture the attitude or aware of the characters and the setting, comic art is that which combines both the moving power of monogatari and the moving power of the image into a composite media that makes present the overall aware of an experience. But what is aware? Aware, for Norinaga, is a word used to describe the affective or emotional dimension of experience. Put another way, aware is the feeling that causes us to exclaim, "How beautiful," at the sight of a sunset, or "That's creepy," when we encounter locations that seem mysterious or haunted. Aware is also the sense of a thing, even if we are not directly experiencing that thing. So aware for Norinaga is a fundamental element of our ongoing experience in the world and arises through our sense perceptions. It is what enables an object, person, place, or event to be what it is as it is experienced. In describing aware, Norinaga uses a variety of phrases, one of which I have already described, aware to miru, or to be moved at the sight of. Aware to miru accounts for the feeling that prompts the exclamation, "How beautiful," as we view the beautiful sunset. In fact, for Norinaga, the nature of aware to prompt exclamations stands as proof of the ways that we can be moved through the encounter with the world. insofar as aware is used to designate a situation of any sort whatsoever about which one may feel ahare, where ahare is a kind of sighing exclamation in response to the movement of our kokoro. Norinaga is arguing that any situation that moves us to exclaim, even if this exclamation is as simple as how beautiful, possesses an aware. Norinaga does not restrict this moving power merely to the things seen and heard. Our own thoughts and feelings are also organized by aware. For Norinaga, aware to omo, or to be moved at the thought of, is yet another example of how aware suffuses everything. The paradigmatic example of aware to omo is to be moved at the thought of an absent friend or partner, which Norinaga appeals to in his discussions of poetry's moving power. However, aware to omo also refers to being moved at a variety of thoughts as they move through the kokoro. For example, aware to omo may emerge in the recollection of a treasured location, or as a result of imagining an unfortunate situation, both of which possess their own unique aware. Finally, aware is not just limited to emotions. Human beauty and social rank are also included in aware. For Norinaga, different kinds of persons have different kinds of aware, not simply as a result of their physical appearance, but as a result of their social position and how that position organizes their demeanor. For example, in Iso no Kame Sasame Goto, Norinaga states that warriors should be drawn represented as human beings in a very calm manner, but with the fierceness and power of warriors. That is, to accurately capture the image of a warrior requires capturing the aware of a warrior as understood by the culture at that moment. Put another way, the image should feel like a warrior rather than simply look like a warrior. It should move us as if we are standing in the presence of a warrior. So, as I explained in my ICAF blog post, Kokoro in Norinaga's Mono no Aware and Japanese philosophy broadly refers to the combined rational and affective capacity of an organism. More crucially for Norinaga, anything with a Kokoro knows Mono no Aware and can be moved by the aware of the world around us. In his aesthetics, Norinaga is drawing upon the work of the Heian era poet Kino Tsurayuki, who states that Japanese poetry has the human heart as seeds and words as flowers. It comes into being when men use the seen and the heard to give voice to feelings aroused by the innumerable events in their lives. Norinaga extends this provisional relational definition of kokoro by referring to the way that ancient Japanese texts often use two definitions of koto, which can mean either word or event, as interchangeable. For Norinaga, the dual meaning of koto indicates that words and events both possess kokoro, in addition to objects. Koto, or words, were the flower of events or koto, and contained within them the seeds of human experience if properly organized. Thus, for Norinaga, it is possible for the proper arrangement of words to call forth the kokoro of the events they describe and consequently move us. For both Norinaga and Tsurayuki, the kokoro was a source of poetic composition specifically and all art generally, as works of art embodied the aware sensed through the contact between humans and the world around them. This bidirectional reciprocity is described by Thomas Kasulis as a sensitivity expressed either in being in touch with something else or being touched by it. Put another way, kokoro is an affective center that allows us to participate in intersubjective experiences across social, cultural, and personal boundaries through sensitivity to aware. By sensing the aware of an experience, we may then encounter the kokoro of that experience and then learn how to respond to that experience in other contexts. As a final note, Norinaga does not imply that being touched by the kokoro of an experience of a person allows us to fully understand that person. Rather, Norinaga's point is that the kokoro is what enables us to be responsive to the events of the world and the persons in it, thus allowing us to act more compassionately when we encounter different aware. As indicated previously, poetry emerges through the resonance between the kokoro of the poet, the kokoro of the words, and the kokoro of the reader. Through skilled mastery of poetic language, Norinaga argues that the kokoro events experienced by authors may be carried across time and space as it resonates with readers in modernity. Another way of understanding this resonance is through drama. Motokyo Ziyumi and his instructors to actors argues that the skilled actor is one who has attained the one mind linking all powers, or mushin, a mode of the Kokoro attained through absolute concentration on the art of no drama. For Ziyumi, mushin allows for an openness to the audience and the art of no, which enables the manifestation of the Kokoro of the events depicted in the play through the words, actions, and gestures of the no performance. This Kokoro effect, or the process whereby the audience is moved by touching and being touched by the affective content of the play, is not distinct from how Norinaga argues that Monogatari makes present the Kokoro and the aware of an experience through the organization of the work. In the Kokoro effect, the actor unites all the elements of their craft to create the atmosphere or the world that the audience is touching and in touch with. In Monogatari, the organization of words into poetic language makes present the Kokoro of the event described such that the reader is drawn into the world created through the literature. Within this world, the reader comes to be moved by the innumerable events experienced by the characters and can thus become aware of how one should be moved by similar events in experience. It is thus the resonance between the Kokoro of the words, the reader, and the author that gives rise to the aware, or the affective knowledge of the work. In this mode, comic art functions in the same way. The organizations of images and text, the technical attributes of the comic format, enable a Kokoro effect through how they make present the aware of a given character. If we return to Norinaga's commentary on painting from Isa no Kame Sasame Goto, how an image captures the aware of a character within the juxtaposed sequence of images and where that character is positioned within the narrative gives rise to an aware that serves to cultivate the sensitivity of our Kokoro to experience both on and off the comics page. To place this in the context of superhero comics in general, the depiction of characters in combination with the text of the comic gives rise to an aware readers understand as heroic. This aware sticks to the character and serves to color all of their transactions with the world of the comic, thereby enabling readers to understand the experience of heroism. Through this cultivated understanding, readers can come to recognize the aware of heroism beyond the page and in their own experience. While the previous provided an abstract understanding of what aware and mono no aware do in the composition and consumption of aesthetics works, comics can provide a more concrete example. For Norinaga, anything that moved the Kokoro was a kind of aware. Therefore, it stands to reason that sensations like speed and sharpness are also aware in addition to the felt sense of a person's social role or their embodiment. The example of the aware of speed is indicated in these two panels from Rurouni Kenshin Volume 2 and the Flash Volume 3. What is worth noting here is that both images make present the aware of speed through the organization, or what Norinaga would call the patterning of the comic media. In the selection from Rurouni Kenshin, speed is indicated through the overlapping lines which follow Kenshin's sword strokes, while Kenshin himself remains to stand still. The results of Kenshin's overwhelming speed are made present through the depiction of the impacts on Sanosuke's body, which serve to articulate the aware of Kenshin's attacks as being faster than the eye can see. The juxtaposition of images in this manga articulates a very different aware of speed than those in the panel of the Flash. In the Flash, the aware of speed is made present through similar blurring effects. However, in many of the panels, the Flash himself is duplicate to present the aware of moving so fast that he appears in different places simultaneously. The use of blurring and speed lines to heighten the sense of the Flash's speed results in a very different aware of speed than in Kenshin. Whereas Kenshin's speed is defined by apparently simultaneous strokes that land faster than the eye can see, the Flash's speed is defined by appearing to be in multiple places at once. Taken together, these two examples indicate the ways that the aware of an affect, speed in this case, can be represented differently through different arranges of the comic's material. In both cases, the sensation of speed is apperceived, but apperceived differently. The Flash and Kenshin are both inhumanly fast, but their speed is qualitatively different by virtue of how the image makes present the aware of what they are depicting. In other words, Aware accounts for the different senses of speed made present through the arrangement of the images on the page. While it may be easy to see how comics makes present the aware of speed, it is more difficult to understand how comics fulfill the social role Norinaga ascribes to literature, specifically that of cultivating an awareness, or mono no aware, of the experiences of others. Briefly, for Norinaga, it is the failure to recognize the aware within social situations that leads to inhumane treatment within power relations. Because individuals from different worlds do not encounter the various matters of different social spaces, they have no understanding of those matters and the aware that emerges from them. To this end, otherwise sensitive individuals may be hard-hearted or inhumane in their treatment of others because they lack the depth of mono no aware to be moved by the events within different worlds. As a result of the isolation between social and cultural worlds, individuals who do not reach beyond their given world come to possess a mono no aware that is shallow in comparison to those who encounter events beyond their worlds. At its most extreme, a shallow mono aware can lead to a failure to recognize the aware of another culture completely. This then is Norinaga's intention in cultivating mono no aware through literature, as understanding the nature of things where other humans are concerned involves understanding the kokoro of other humans, and humans have limited access to other worlds. Literature enables the kokoro events in other worlds to cross the divide between worlds such that we can understand the aware of the events experienced by different persons within different worlds. On this view, comics, like all forms of literature, should strive for the representation of the mono no aware of diverse experiences such that comics readers and comics fans can come to recognize the aware of the situations experienced by others. However, Norinaga takes this a step further. Not only should the work seek to accurately make present the aware of diverse experiences, it should also do so in such a way as to cultivate compassionate responses to the situations and persons depicted in the works, thereby allowing readers to respond appropriately to these situations and their aware in experience beyond the pages of comics. This understanding reframes what it is that comics do through their arrangement of images. As an example, March, depicted on the left, is a visual narrative of the experiences of Representative John Lewis as he participated in the civil rights movement. Through its organization of images and text to make present the Kokoro of Lewis's experience, readers can come to understand the manifold aware that not only motivated Lewis's participation in the civil rights movement, but motivated the civil rights movement itself. For Norinaga, the value in historical comics like March is not for the information that it conveys, but the ways that the comic's medium allows the reader to connect with the kokoro of the events depicted. The comics therefore articulates a kokoro effect that connects the kokoro of the past with the kokoro of the present readers such that they come to recognize the aware of the events in their own experience. So in contrast, the cover of All New, All Different Captain America uses aware in a different mode. Recall Norinaga's assertion that to appropriately capture the image of a warrior is to capture the attitude or aware of the warrior. Applied broadly, appropriate representation is more than a matter of visual depiction, it is a matter of capturing the feeling of being in the presence of the individual. Translated into comic art, appropriate representation is more than a matter of presenting the image of a character, it is enabling that image to embody all that the character represents. On this view, we may look at the way that Sam Wilson, a black man, embodies the aware of Captain America as represented on the cover. His posture with the sun behind him and the symbols of heroism clearly displayed reframes the way we understand the aware of heroism through Wilson's blackness. That is, Wilson's image not only makes present the aware of the mythos of Captain America, his heroism, but it also alters this aware through who is embodying the attitude that is central to being Captain America. Now, the above has been a brief discussion of the application of mono noir to comics art. However, in the spirit of the title of this talk, I would like to answer the question posed by the title. What can comic studies learn from mono noir? Aside from a new and valuable way of understanding how and what comics do what they do, mono noir offers comic studies a new and unique collection of tools that reframes comics as a mode of relating experience through comic media. By taking up Norinaga's understanding of art as central to cultivating our awareness of multiple ways of experiencing the world, comic studies can draw from Mono no Aware a method of understanding comics as a valuable tool for enabling intersubjective experience through comic art.